Hello guys, it's me Simo Orahara, and in this video we'll talk about Zanpakuto Zangetsu and why it is considered the most unique and powerful Zanpakuto in my opinion. So that we will dive into the world of Zanpakutos in order to talk about the most prominent Zanpakutos in the story. So I can show you why Zangetsu is really considered in my opinion the most unique and powerful Zanpakuto in the story. So guys, when we talk about Zanpakuto, there is no doubt that many Zanpakutos will come to our mind. Often a lot will discuss the strongest one of them, and this is a good discussion, but the most important for me is that there are other Zanpakutos that are special and unique, and they have things that others don't. Some unique abilities, whether in the Shikai or Bankai, or how they are formed, etc. For example, if we come to talk about the Zanpakuto Ikumokodomoi, it's not considered an ordinary one, but it is a Zanpakuto with a holo inside it, one of the strongest creatures the story has known. And one of the things that distinguish this Zanpakuto is that Nimaya placed it directly inside a Zanpakuto without having an Asauchi. So if you notice, the shape of Ikumokodomoi is far from the other forms that we know that are distinguished by the normal sword katana in their sealed form. And if we are gonna talk about Zaraki's Zanpakuto, for a long time it was considered a nameless one, so that all the Shinigami believed Zaraki's Zanpakuto is in a constant release of Shikai, and he doesn't even know the name of his Shikai release command. Another example of a unique Zanpakuto is Kyoraku's Zanpakuto Katen Kyokatsu with Okitaki's Zanpakuto. They are considered the only Zanpakuto who have two swords, especially Kyoraku. Kyoraku has two swords before he even enters the Shikai phase, unlike Okitaki who has two swords in the Shikai form. For this Yamamoto said that there was no such thing in the Sword Society. And the matter doesn't stop here, but there are the sacred swords, which are very few, but they carry a mighty power and mighty abilities, such as the Hakyuken, the Zanpakuto of the Issei clan, whose powers work against powerful beings like Lily Barrow, or Inra-Kyojin, who copies the abilities of the other Zanpakuto. Although these types of Zanpakuto carries a high price for carrying them. For example, Hakyuken curses the husbands of Issei women and they die, and Inra-Kyojin reduces the life cycle of its master. More than that, we learned through one of Kobu's answers that all the Zanpakutos in the story have a sheath and blade, and there are no Zanpakuto outside these rules except for two swords, and he mentioned that Sayafushi is one of them. So as you can see, all these Zanpakutos are characterized by something that distinguishes them from others. Some of them are in the form of two swords, some of them are sacred, their abilities works against power beings, and some of them have a holo creatures inside of them, and some didn't have a name or a release command. But what about a Zanpakuto that carries all of these extraordinary qualities in one sword? Yes, one Zanpakuto has all these features, and I'm speaking here about Zangetsu. Firstly, it is close to Ikumokodomoi in that they both contain holo creatures inside them, and they both have a form that is far away from the well-known Asauchi form. And the reason is that Ikumokodomoi was sealed directly into his Zanpakuto. Zangetsu is essentially a Shinigami power that fused with an Asauchi made by Aizen Sosuke, while all the Shinigami have a Zanpakuto made by Nimaya. So Ichigo from the start had a unique Asauchi that has the powers of the white creature with the benefits of the holo powers, such as Sonido, regenerative speed, and Zero. And this is something that has never happened to any Shinigami before. And we have seen these powers in Ichigo's power development, whether in his first appearance as a Shinigami or in front of Byakuya, and its climax in front of Rikyura. But in the Horn of Salvation, Ichigo became able to show holo abilities while controlling them. That's why the Asauchi White played a big role in the appearance of Zangetsu as we know it now. Zangetsu's uniqueness doesn't stop here, but rather reaches the issue of release command of Shikai. And as I said in the beginning of this video, it was believed that Zaraki had his Zanpakuto in a constant release of Shikai, and that he didn't know the name of his Zanpakuto. But when Zaraki contacted his Zanpakuto and discovered its name, he also learned its release name, which is Nome no Zarashi, so that Zangetsu remains the only Zanpakuto that exists in a state of constant release of Shikai, and that until the moment we don't know what is the name of Ichigo's Shikai release. And therefore this is one of the things that makes Zangetsu distinguished in its unusual shape. And we will keep talking about the Shikai and its distinctive shape. In the last arc, after Ichigo learns about his true power, the Shikai has taken the form of two blades, which made him, along with Kyoraku and Okitake, the only characters to possess a two-bladed Zanpakuto. One blade represents his Shinigami power and the other blade represents his Quincy power. Not only that, Zangetsu in his normal state is like Sayafushi, a sword without a sheath, except in the case of two blades. One of them is the sheath and the second is the blade. So perhaps all of these unique features that came together in Zangetsu made it a unique Zanpakuto with an extraordinary power. So that I place Zangetsu in the level of sacred swords when it comes to defeat the strongest opponents. And it is without talking about the special techniques that Zangetsu possesses, as the technique of the final Getsuga Tensho, which may be related to Shiba family. And the reason why I compared Zangetsu to the sacred swords is, for example, as we said, Hakyoken is a Zanpakuto directed at creatures of Ryu's power, and with that Lilibaro was defeated. As for Inrakyuchen, it is a sacred Zanpakuto belonging to the Tsunoyashiro family, and it copies the abilities of the Zanpakuto that it sees. And it is interesting to know that Inrakyuchen was able to copy all the powers of the other Zanpakutos, such as Kyoka Suigetsu, Ryujin Shakka, while it was unable to copy Zangetsu's power and only copied its form. On the other hand, Inrakyuchen costs its owner a decrease in life cycle as a price for its use. That's why I say Zangetsu is similar to Hakyoken and Inrakyuchen. Using Zangetsu, Ichigo was able to cut Yhwach at the end of the story, the Yhwach that absorbed Ryo. At the same time, Zangetsu, as mentioned in the novel, this Zanpakuto requires a lot of Reiatsu. Lots of Reiatsu for it to function at full strength, which give us a glimpse of the enormity of Ichigo's Reiatsu. In the end, guys, there's still a piece missing in Zangetsu's power, which is the power of the real Bankai. If we could see the power of Ichigo's real Bankai, this could give us the peak of the true power of Zangetsu, on how it works and if there any new ability that Ichigo could use, not only to defeat his enemies, but to destroy them, because the only one who has seen this mighty power is Yhwach. And so that we have a confirmation that the third and the fourth part will have a lot of original content. This may indicate that Ichigo could have another battle where he will be able to use the real Bankai against Yhwach. And maybe Ichigo will have a full battle with another enemy where he will use the Horn of Salvation. Because I do think that Ichigo needs some fights before he fights Yhwach, like what happened in the Soul Society arc or the Arankara arc, or even in the Full Ring arc, because Ichigo, even though he was able to get all of his power back without suppression, he was still unable to control them. Therefore, he needs some fights to make this control happen before he meets Yhwach. So guys, what about you? I probably didn't mention all the features of Zangetsu, so tell me the one that I missed, and see you guys in my next video.